Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to D-Backs Dispatch. We didn't have to wait very long for this team to do another series win, and on top of that, it was a sweep. So that's even better, ladies and gentlemen. I would have been not in a good mood had we lost the series to the Miami Marlins. Don't have to worry about that. They did make us sweat in almost every single one, wondering was it going to happen, but they got the job done. If this is your first time on D-Backs Dispatch here on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss any of our future videos. Make sure to hit that notification bell. You will be notified every time we go live. Don't want to miss it. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at D-Backs Dispatch. And if you're a audio listener, check us out on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. We also have a Discord. So make sure you go ahead and check us out over there. I will be adding it to the description of the video. It is also our pinned tweet on Twitter. So go ahead, join us in there. It gets very active during games. So it's a very fun community to be around. So I'm Brandon. Gabe is to my right, your left, and Brett is on the other side. We appreciate everyone for stopping by, talking another great series here. Just want to give shout outs to Corbin Barrels, Bubba, our Yankee contributor, Shrimpy, Red Sox Nation, everyone. Thanks for stopping by. Brett, you're going to have to answer your boy on this. Why is Shrimpy not in our Discord?
Well, you're not listening to the episodes. You would have heard it last time. I'm just fucking. Yeah. That's on me. Yeah. That's on me. I'll send it to you.
Yeah. Dink, everyone, thanks for stopping by. We appreciate it. Why don't we just go ahead and get into it here? Game one. Adrian Del Castillo is from the Miami area. He went to the University of Miami at Florida. And did he show out, ladies and gentlemen? He hits a grand slam here in his very first game back. And what was so interesting about this is like 2 pitches before, he misses it by about 10 feet down the right field line. Like he absolutely murdered the baseball and was just out in front a little bit. And 2 pitches later, goes to the deepest part of the ballpark there, and he crushes it. ADC has been on a tear, y'all. Like, I don't think there was any doubt, though, that his bat was good. Because you just look at what he's done in the minor leagues. He was always hitting well. I know for me, I've been very surprised at how effective he's been so early on. His OPS is at 1,000. Like, you never see that unless you're someone like Shohei Ohtani. And that wasn't the only runs that he decided to provide in this game later in the game. And just want to give a shout out to Josh on these awesome little transition videos that we had. 5-4 in the 7th. And he gives us some breathing room with a big 2-run RBI single. So he is just hitting so well. He had a lot of family in the crowd. So it was great for him to kind of show out there for the crowd. Gabe, from what you've seen from Del Castillo so far, what has impressed you the most?
Mostly his at-bats. Like most of his at-bats, there's never a point in any single time that he's come to the plate where you feel like he's a little overmatched. Like, doesn't matter if they're throwing 100 or they have nasty sliders. It seems like he's able to, spit on that thing. Like, just take certain pitches really well, and he's just looked super comfortable and confident up there. And we've talked about this before, where we need certain guys to bring a spark, especially when we've been scuffling and been needing, these offensive streaks going. And he's been providing that. We've been talking about, what to do when Christian Walker comes back or Gabby. As of right now, as ADC continues playing like this and we keep him up, and, hopefully he does. But we've seen this before with other guys like Beer or even Blaze earlier this year. When guys come up, eventually they get to the point after a few weeks where there's enough tape on them where teams adjust, they can adjust back, and then they're back in Reno again. But I don't think that's going to happen with Adrian just because he seems to have such a good eye in the zone. Like, he takes his walks, which is not something that we see a lot of the times. A lot of these guys don't walk all that much, and he has been able to do that. And it's just he has so much raw power, and he has such a good eye for the zone. And I mean, he's one of the older players. I'll say that because he's 25. Everyone else is 22, 23, 24. So he's looked really impressive so far.
Now, I think.
Yeah. So he's been very.
He's older than Carroll, you guys. Oh, by the way, shout out, happy birthday, Corbin Carroll. Today is his birthday. So,
yeah, it's just. I think we'll see where he goes from here. See once teams start to adjust on him, but as of right now, just his patience and his eye for the zone it's really impressed me.
Yeah, for me, like his willingness to just take walks like if we go back to Jake McCarthy's walk-off from last week, he got a huge walk there in the 9th inning. A lot of young guys in their first week in Major League Baseball would be happy feet in the box, swinging out of their shoes. No, ADC was like, you're not going to give me anything. I'll go ahead and walk. And that walk was a huge contributing factor to getting Jake to go up to the plate to walk the game off. So I think his ability to hit right now is helping so much with Moreno out. I feel like we are not missing the run production out of that catcher spot with Gabby out. And Herrera probably gets most of the defensive part of that. Obviously, he's not at the quality of Gabby. I'm not saying that. But I feel like the drop-off this season with Gabby out is not as noticeable as it was last year when Gabby was out. It was like two different teams. This doesn't feel as much of a drop-off. It could be multiple factors, like having veterans like Jock Peterson and Randall Grichuk, I think is probably another factor of that. But the way ADC's been heading has me so excited for the future of a catching tandem of Gabby and ADC. Like that has me, I'm like, y'all better watch out. Like this team, like since like July 1st is unreal. Like when this team was 7 games under 500, I know a lot of people's like, season's done. We got nothing. Like everyone wanted to give up. It's just crazy to me now that they're like, what, 15, 16 games over 500 at this point. And yeah, they had a little bit of a hiccup in Tampa, but I don't know. That stadium is weird. We discussed it on our Rays recap episode, but I feel like the team kind of got back on track, so we really could tell. Oh, it was just that stadium. Like that stadium was just weird. But Brett, what have you been impressed so far with ADC?
I think just kind of agreeing with you guys as well of just his presence at the plate. It doesn't seem like he's a rookie. Doesn't seem like he's taking, obviously, he might have a swing here and there where he might be a little more aggressive, might be, trying to do a little more damage than he needs to with the swing in the situation. But we haven't been seeing it a lot. Like we probably see from a lot of rookies coming up, like we saw even from Alec at times, like the aggressive leg kick, just trying to kill the ball instead of just trying to, hit it where it's pitched, where it's placed. But then even when you're not getting your pitch, he's taking his walks. He's working these accounts. He's not Geraldo Perdomo up there working the counts, but he's still getting into, 2-2, even if it's a 1-2 count, working, fighting off some tough pitches. And if he does go down in a strike, at least it seems like he's making an adjustment. He's going up there to the next at bat. It's like, okay, he put me away with this. I've seen that pitch now. I'm ready, which, again, just it seems like not a very rookie-ish kind of thing. Like, you don't see it that quickly. It seems like you don't see those kind of adjustments happen in game right away, where we're seeing it happen from ADC from like at bat to at bat, where like you talked about with the Jake McCarthy walk off, I believe, Gabe. He started that with like that at bat that he had. Even Jake mentioned it. There were multiple good at bats, and his was one of the better ones in that inning. And he did it even in this one with the grand slam. Like fought off a couple tough pitches. One of them, maybe the umpire bailed him out. Maybe he didn't. You know, the umpires were just bad all series, all season, every game. It's at this point, what's the point of even complaining about umpires? Just give me robo umps. But he's looking really composed in the batter's box, and that's something that I wasn't sure if we would see because even Gabby, his streak right before he got injured, he used to kill it. So that's what we were seeing from Gabby, where Gabby was spitting on those pitches that he didn't want. You know, he was driving the ball the other way into Gabby lane. Even today, ADC, I believe, went the other way to left field, where I was like, it's like the opposite of Gabby lane. You know, it's just mirrored. Which that was kind of one of the things that if he can keep it up, I will be thoroughly impressed that it's been 1 week. Sorry, had to every time I say it. Thoroughly impressed that it's been more than just 4 or 5 games, and he's still hitting the way he's hitting.
Yeah, like he just looks like he's not stopping anytime soon with the way that he's been hitting. Like yeah, occasionally he'll have a bad game, but like the next one he comes back. Yeah, I'm gonna go on this tangent in game 3 about this. So don't worry about that.
I think he's just more because ADC had a bunch of family there. That's why he got booed. Which is just if you would see any of the D-backs fans, they'd probably be like, "Yeah, of course you're gonna boo ADC," but no, they're just like, "We're not booing you, Tori. We're booing you because you took our man's out. What are you doing?"
Yeah. So for those that are with us live here, I did post in the chat the link to the Discord. So if you're watching us, you want to check it out. It's also in the description of the video if you're watching on the replay and you want to join us over there on Discord. Again, ADC is not without faults. We're not saying he's perfect. He definitely does struggle, and one of them was probably his ability to throw out runners. Like that Tampa series, they were running wild on us. Miami was running, but not as wild. Gabe, are you concerned with his ability to throw out runners on the base, or are we so used to Gabby literally throwing out like such a high percentage that this is probably normal and something we're not used to?
I am concerned just because I don't think it's normal. I think the stat they have here is you guys have here is 1 for 15. Is that updated for today?
Yes, I checked Fangraphs before the stream. It said he was 11 stolen bases, 1 caught stealing, and then I checked the log today. Before he was taken out for Herrera, there was 3 stolen bases on him. So if he was 1 for 12 going in today, those other 3, so now he's 1 for 15.
Okay, so 1 for 15. Yeah, that's not normal. I think the average is still like 25%, and Gabby was 35, 40% at times. So I know we're spoiled with Gabby because he is a Gold Glove catcher, but this is very concerning. Just because we face off teams that can steal and do steal, then they're going to be running train on us, and I worry mostly because of the playoffs. Like this does have playoff implications because if we face off against a speedy team, like the Padres, even the Brewers, Dodgers, like they have a lot of guys that can and will steal, and if we can't throw a single guy out, then a single turns into a run scored or a potential double play becomes ineffective, and they can't they can only turn it to 1 out if that. So I would hope getting some work in the majors with their coaches, he can become a little bit better. But as of right now, I still think like I want his bat in the lineup, but when Gabby comes back, especially in the playoffs, I want Gabby playing most of those games.
Yeah. Gabby, without a doubt, once playoffs start, I don't see a reason why he doesn't play every game. I'm pretty sure he only missed 1 game last postseason, and that was when he got hit on the head on that swing. That was it. Like I think he was back like the next game because he's so important. Gabby is so important to this team, and in the playoffs, you really should be playing your A lineup every day because you really need to play every game like it's the last game of the season. don't count on, oh, it's a 7-game series. We're only down 2-0. But going in with that sort of mindset, like you have time, next thing you know, you're out. So that's why, for me, for playoffs, you always need to treat it like it's game 7. Like you lose and you're out. So for me, the throwing runners out, it's not a major concern for me, but it is alarming and something that I hope that they address, because if we're noticing it, we know other teams are as well. So it's something that they're going to do when they see ADC behind the plate. They're going to go ahead and try and steal. And until he proves that he can throw guys out, they're just going to keep running. So they may need to get some help from the pitchers and just holding the runners better. And that's one thing that a lot of them that they haven't done the last week. Like a lot of them just don't check on the runners. Like there was, I think it was game 3, the one that went to extras against Tampa. Like from the 8th inning on, if they got a guy on first, they were stealing second. I'm like, why are we not checking on these guys? Just like, you don't need to exactly throw over, but come set and throw off their timing. But like, if you just come set real quick, and like, they're gonna get it every time. So for me,
I mean, you're talking about us being spoiled as fans. I think the pitchers were being spoiled by Gabby, because they knew that even if they were taking a while, or if they saw something in their delivery where they could get a jump on them, Gabby had their back. And so in the last 2 years, they haven't needed to do, any sort of motion or anything that will help pick him off. So now we're seeing the consequence of having such a great catcher back there that there's no one there to he's not backing them up anymore. So I think maybe that's affecting the pitcher's timing a little bit. So hopefully when they come back from the road trip, they can address that and work on it, and they'll figure it out.
Yeah, I think so. Brett, floor is yours on your thoughts and feelings about ADC's one struggle, and that's throwing out base stealers.
I'm definitely in a mixture with both of you guys, like Gabe, where I think it's definitely something where it's a cause for concern, something to keep in mind and to note, pay attention to. Hopefully, I imagine the coaches are working with him. It was even something I think we talked about, and I brought up, going to gloat a little bit in my February article on 5 names to look out on the non-roster invitees list. Sorry. But his throwing runners out in his arm has never been what it's never going to be what Gabby's is. So I think we might be a little bit spoiled with that, but it is a smaller sample size. So I want to see a little bit more, it could be one of those where he's more focused on just trying to receive the ball, steal those strikes, make sure he actually gets the pitch framed where it needs to make sure the pitchers are, getting the more benefit of it. But to your point, Gabe, about, the pitchers maybe not being as used to it, it made me think of a Foolish Baseball video that he put out like 3 or 4 years ago, maybe it was only 2. I don't know. Time is so fast. But it was on Rob Barajas, and how when he was on the Pirates, he was, I think, statistically one of the worst catchers in the league when it came to throwing guys out. He had like very minimal. He got ran on the entire year. And then he even broke it down. It's like, oh, is this really on him, or is it more on the, is there more to look into? And in his analysis and all that, it kind of showed that the Pirates pitching staff was notoriously slow to the plate, genuinely just slow deliveries, slow stretches. And it's not even like they're fireballing it. So it doesn't really help there. Not like the D-backs have many guys doing it, but it was like AJ Burnett, Francisco Liriano in the low 90s. So it doesn't really help when you got a slow delivery to the plate and all that. So I think it's kind of a mixture of everything. Of he's never really had the strongest of arm. He could be focusing a little bit more on the actual framing and receiving of the pitch to make sure nothing gets behind him and the pitcher can benefit on that call. The pitchers could just not be used to him yet. And I mean, it could genuinely be something where he just is going to have an issue with that. There's some catchers that just like Will Smith is always a guy that is always going to be ran on, because whether he just gets the yips and can't throw them actually out at the bases, or is just always a little bit too slow, he could be in that category, which, maybe that does lead in, I believe, Corbin Barrows has a comment here in the chat. Wonder if he has the future as a first base DH. I wouldn't be surprised at all for what they try to do. Maybe a little bit of an early Joe Mauer situation where, Joe Mauer switched to first because of the knees. Same with Buster Posey for health. Maybe you do the same with ADC just for a defensive reason, because I still think he's solid at first. Could still be a catcher as a backup option. That's why, again, I don't want to just say, get him out of here as a catcher. But I do want to see a little bit more. Hopefully, again, going up against the Red Sox, the Mets, and the Dodgers. When I'm looking at the MLB lead in teams in stolen bases, the Red Sox are 6th in the league at 122, which is, God, what a big jump from the Reds. Elly De La Cruz is just insane over there. But the Rays were at 149, so they were 4th in the league in stolen bases. So that kind of explains why they were running crazy. The Marlins are 12th, they're kind of middle of the pack, but they're still above even us, Padres, and the Dodgers, who are all literally 13, 14, 15. So I think it's a little bit more of these teams are kind of doing what the D-backs did all of last year to teams, and they're running crazy. And unless you have a guy like Gabriel Moreno, unless you have, a guy like Patrick Bailey in San Francisco, where they're genuinely like elite arms behind the dish, I think it just might be one of those where those caught stealing numbers might be dipping a little bit more, especially when because again, you're not facing teams like the Tigers, the Rockies, the Cardinals. Like the Rockies didn't steal too much on them, and I think maybe that's why, we were kind of like, oh, it's not a big deal. But now we're starting to see it, and I think it'll be a big test this weekend up against the Red Sox coming up.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. So took game 1, always a good feeling. Before we talk game 2, there's a couple of just team news that I want to go over real quick. Out of the blue, did not expect this. Luis Guillermo, we signed him to a major league deal. I was not expecting that. And then Blaze got sent down. And then our young king, Alec Thomas, went on the 7-day IL, which I want to talk a little bit about because we had been talking about his struggles offensively. Like he just had not been hitting well since he came back. With this news of the injury, do you feel like maybe that was a factor with his struggles, or is it still the whole happy feet rolling over to first? Like injury had nothing to do with it.
You're talking about obliques. Usually it does come with the swings. I guess it could explain at least in part of it, because if he got injured this quick with his oblique, then it might have been a slightly lingering issue or something. Because I think it's usually when there's an injury, like stuff, if you have an injury in your lower back or upper back, whatever it is, you usually don't hurt the back right away. It's usually your body overcompensating for an injury you already had, but you don't know about it until a little bit later, once your back starts flaring up or your legs or whatever. So it could be, I'd be curious to know maybe at some point there's a swing, because there was a couple swings towards the end when he got sent down that he did have to stop and did that little stretch where he grabs the bat and just kind of bends over with it. So maybe just a little something where you felt like a little nick and then just didn't really think about it, but then maybe didn't feel fully comfortable giving, a swing where he could lift up the ball. But overall, I'm just sad for him, sad for the way the season has gone. I mean, he just got back and he didn't really have much chance to play, as a starter, just because of how good Jake and Corbin have been. So he was riding the bench a lot of the time and didn't really get a chance to swing the bat. And then he goes down to Reno and then he gets injured there. And it's sad and it sucks. And, injuries are part of the game. And hopefully he's able to come back next year. Like they said, 4 weeks. And you're talking about 4 weeks. That's still mid-September. Will he be ready? Will he be ready to go? Will he still continue to struggle with the swing? We really don't know how he's going to look and how he's going to feel. But again, come playoff time, with that defense, I want him out there, and I'll take the 150 average.
Yeah, for me, this team does not make the World Series without him in center field. If they want to do with what we've discussed is seventh, eighth, ninth inning, have him come in to be a defensive replacement because those innings are so important. And yeah, Jake and Corbin are decent outfielders, but there have been a lot of plays where we're like, yeah, Alec makes that play, no questions asked.
So that's very true. But I mean, even with how we've seen from the offense lately, and I mean, putting in Alec, especially like you said, you take him for the defense. But with if the offense is going to continue this scoring in the seventh, eighth, and ninth, it'd be really tough to see in like especially Jake McCarthy with how he's swinging, he's going to be up in the lineup to take out a bat like Jake McCarthy. Yes, I know Alex defense is amazing. I agree. Like I don't think we have a whole like again Jake's we've talked about it many times. He's still a good defender. I'm not trying to say he's not, but Alec is a better defender. But again, it's one of those where if it's a close game, 1-2 run game, I know you want to keep Alec out there, and maybe that's the kind of the counterpoint as well. It's a 1-2 run game. Him making a defensive play like that could be the difference. But even Jake McCarthy getting whether it's a hit or working a walk or even I don't know, it's just at the time of right now, obviously, I would just feel way more comfortable with Jake, even the lesser defense, with the way this offense is rolling in the seventh, eighth, and ninth.
I think it's going to have to be something as who's hot right now. Like right now, I don't see them making that move, even if Alec were on the major league roster. But like, I think it could potentially happen with Gurriel because he is so hot and cold. When he's hot, like he is right now, yes, he needs to play. But then there are times where he's cold for 2 weeks, goes like 1 for 15. In those scenarios, I would, late in the game, do a defensive replacement, put Alec in center and put whoever was in center in that game, whether it's Corbin or Jake, and put them in left. I think. But again, that changes based on the day because, to be honest, if Corbin, Jake, and Gurriel are all playing hot like they are right now, I don't make that move. And remember, Jake wasn't on the postseason roster last year. He got hurt like that last week, or like I think he got hurt like the day before game 1 of that wild card. So, like, if Jake continues to what he's been doing, like that bat is too important. Like, I go back and forth on this because I know how important it is to have a good, legit defensive center fielder that can cover everything. But when it comes to playoffs, you got to be able to score runs. And right now, that's what the team's doing. Like they are.
Won't the Ohtani rule make it so they can move one of the outfielders to a DH spot?
But the thing is, though, like, so then what do you take out Jock or Randall Grichuk? Like, that's what I'm not.
I think a lot of it's going to come down to situations too.
Yeah.
Like, it's who batted. If let's say Jake let off, finished the inning, he's probably not going to get an at bat for 3 more innings. If he comes into 7th, if he bats into 6th, he's probably not going to get an at bat for the rest of the game. It just depends on how things go. But also, who's pitching? Is it a righty? Is it a lefty? If who did we already use a DH? Let's say they bring him a lefty to face Jock. They switch it out for Grichuk. You could put him in there again. Like, it's all about matchups and everything. But again, I would feel a little bit more comfortable, especially with some of these bullpen guys that we have. A lot of them give up hard contact, and especially towards that left, left center, right center field. So I trust Alec in those spots. So even if you want to like just have him bunch most of the time, like whatever, there's probably if Alec comes back, there's probably gonna be a play where he saves the day because of his defense. And like I said, I want that. I'm especially during the playoffs. I am a defense first person because the runs are going to come at some point. And again, if there's 2-1, we saw what happened last year when they were down 5-3. Alec Thomas hit a home run. We just posted that video. Like he can come in clutch. It's not like
can.
he's a complete zero out there.
Yeah. So this is something that I think will change week to week because it really depends on who's hot. So I would love for Gurriel, Corbin, and Jake to continue to be this hot because then the decision is easy. And it sucks for Alec. It really does because that home run. We don't make it to the World Series without him because of that 3-run homer. Like, we really don't. And some of the defensive plays that he makes. So I don't envy Mike Hazen and Torrey on having to make that sort of decision. So moving on to game 2, everyone. Started by Eduardo Rodriguez. It wasn't a perfect outing, but it was good. Like, keep in mind, this is what his fourth start of the season. Like, he's looked better than Jordan Montgomery did after his first couple of starts. Like, Erod went 5 1/3, 6 hits, 1 walk, 1 unrun, 5 strikeouts. Like, that, I will take that any day of the week. I will take, like, had he gone 2 more outs, he gets a quality start. Like, you can never hate a guy getting a quality start. Like, that is what you want. If your pitcher gives you a quality start, it keeps you in the game. It really does. So, congrats to Erod. He threw about 100 pitches, so I was surprised they had him go that much. Like, I thought they might stop him at like 80 pitches. 9 whiffs, 6 hard hit to 11 non-hit. So, like, more soft contact than not. His numbers against lefties, though. He's faced 13 left-handed hitters so far this season. None of them have gotten a hit. I get it's a small sample size. I don't think anyone's going to disagree with you on that, Bubba. For sure. Yeah. Erod has definitely been the better lefter. Right-handed hitters, though, against Erod, it's still a small sample size. He's faced 53 right-handed batters this season with a slash on a 314, 345, 569. So a pretty high OPS. His ERA against that is 5.25. He's given up 16 hits. 9 of them are extra bases. So, again, it's still early. 50 batters against righties, a very small sample size. But, Gabe, it does truly look like Erod against left-handed hitters so far has been pretty dominant. Like, they can't seem his changeup in this game was working so well. Like, it was like falling off the table. It's what you want to see.
Tom Candiotti was about to have to leave the booth early to go and take care of whatever Erod's changeup was doing to him, because my God, he was speaking some dirty things about his changeup in his mind.
Yeah, it was great. And like, he's struggling. Like, it's not like he's struggling against righties, but those numbers against righties for me is something to keep an eye on. Let's see if he can kind of rein it back. He has so much experience. Like, the fact of having him as probably our third starter come playoff time just has me excited, because I'm like, because regardless of how we feel with Fott and Gallen, come playoff time, it's going to be Gallen and Kelly 1 and 2. It's just what it is, because they rode them to the World Series last year. They're going to do it again this year. With Erod's struggle against right-handed hitters, does that concern you? Or is it because the sample size is still so small, it's not really that big a deal?
Yeah, it doesn't concern me really, just because he said, 3 starts, right? This is
Yeah.
third. Yeah, I mean, you were talking about, this is probably what he would look like coming out of spring training anyways. So I'm not concerned. I mean, he was out for a long, long time. He's missed most of the season. So it doesn't really concern me if he's having issues with righties. Like, he's a veteran, he's crafty, he has good speed. Like, he's gonna figure it out, and then he's probably gonna just adjust, and he's gonna go back to relatively normal numbers against right-handed hitters, and then it's not really gonna be much of a discussion anymore. It's just got to give him time. He has about a month and a half left to figure this out, and I'm sure he will. Like I said, he's a veteran. Like we know what we're gonna get out of him. So yeah, I'm not too concerned. But I mean, he's been relatively stable. He's given this team a chance to win every single time he's been out there. So yeah, I mean, no, I'm not concerned at all.
So yeah, like for me, I was like, with Erod, I couldn't think of any other questions. I'm like, and when I heard how he hadn't given up a hit against a lefty, and then I looked at his right-handed numbers, I'm like, there's something that we can talk about there that might be the start of something, or like we said, it's such a small sample size. Three starts, like 30 days from now, it could be absolutely nothing. Like he could be like 220 against righties for all we know. Like he could get in a rhythm. So it's just something that I feel we should pay attention to with each start. Is he continue because a lot of them have been hard hit too. Like they've been 9 extra base hits out of the 16 hits that he's been given. Is something to keep our eye on, but it's nothing to like what we're doing with Jordan Montgomery. So something just
I think
to keep an eye on.
Something to keep in mind. Even if he has these struggles, if make it to the playoffs, the path to the World Series, you probably would go through Philadelphia and LA, which are very left-handed heavy, teams. So he might not have to worry about it as much because he can get out Schwarber and Harper, Otani, Freeman, Lux, like a lot of these big boppers on those teams. If they haven't even gotten a hit off of him, then I would expect him to be just as good in the playoffs, and then he would just have to adjust against righties.
Yeah, he is a veteran pitcher. He's been in the postseason. And put him together with Strami, with those two together, and then all of the other great pitching minds we have on that pitching staff, they will figure it out. Brett, for you, is the whole struggling against righties concerning?
I wouldn't say it's concerning. I mean, I think it's kind of like the ADC thing with the caught stealing. It's a little bit of a smaller sample size to really treat it as anything like, a red flag, like something to worry about. I do think it's still something to keep in mind, like you said, still something to keep in note. But we were talking. I know I told, or us three, we were talking about it before we went live here. But I was curious, and I went and I looked at Erod's career splits on lefties versus righties to see if it's something where he's normally more dominant against the lefties. Kind of like what we're seeing so far. And it was a little surprising. It's a little bit of the opposite. If you go, his entire career versus left-handed hitters, he has an ERA of basically, he had a 6.21 ERA, a 6.42, and a 6.48 ERA in 19, 21, and 22. This year, and even last year, he had a 2.86 against lefties in Detroit. So maybe that's a product of the Central just being weaker lefty. Maybe he kind of figured his stuff out because that is the lowest career ERA he had against lefties. But then when I looked at it against righties, I was kind of expecting a big jump to be like, oh, maybe the 6.6 would be like 5s all over the board against righties. It was actually the opposite. He has every single season, obviously taking out this year, 2016, his second year with Boston, he had an over 5 ERA against righties. Other than that, he's had a sub 4.3 ERA against righties in his entire career. A little bit surprising, especially with even last year against Detroit, he had a 3.43. His first year in Detroit, he had a 3.51. So he's still doing really solid against lefties to start the year, but I think it'll balance out a little bit more, and I think the same will happen on the righty side of it because, I mean, even his first start of the season was against the Guardians. They had a lot of righties and switch hitters. The Rockies had a lot of righties, and even the Marlins seemed like they kind of the same, some righties and switch hitters. Especially, I'm surprised he was able to limit Jake Berger and not let him because that man is just going on a tear. But I don't think it's anything super major to worry about. Keep in the back of the mind maybe next start kind of like watch how he approaches each hitter, see if there's maybe something that he's doing differently to righties. I think some of it could just be even some of the at-bats I've seen. The cutter, like in game 2, he left one a little bit over the zone. He'd get guys to 2 strikes and would just leave the cutter that just didn't kiss the end of the zone, didn't go in on him enough to where the location, I think, is the bigger thing to look at, and not just of is it a righty, is it a lefty. But like I said, I think it's still definitely something to keep note on, and when his next start comes around, we'll probably touch on it again.
Yeah, I know for me, it's something that I'm gonna pay attention to. Just not necessarily if he gives up hits against righties, just like, is it hard hit? Like, is he doing the Paul Seabold thing and giving up meatballs? So something to keep an eye on, because, like I said, 3 starts. Like, we're not gonna like, oh, this is who he is right now against righties. No, it's too early to tell. Now, if this, like, if the OPS is like 900 on September 21st, after having probably 4 more starts, then that might be something that I might be concerned about. But let's go ahead and move on to Mike Hazen does it again, ladies and gentlemen. This man is a trade god. It seems like he makes these trades with other teams and just absolutely obliterates them. Who I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen, is AJ Puck. Like, AJ Puck has been absolutely nasty since we got him. He's been in 23 games, 21 innings pitched. His ERA is .43. And, like, we kind of expected this, because if you looked at his numbers, like the last 30 games with the Marlins, it was very similar. Like, he was shutout dominant. He's faced 77 batters. He struck out 30 of them. So, like, almost half. These next numbers to me are just straight nasty. Slash line 113, 182, 141 for a 323 OPS. Like, what the hell? Like, that is like top tier closer Emmanuel Class A numbers right now. Like, and the thing I like about Puck, he's a lefty. I'm not saying he's Justin Martinez, but his fastball and slider are really good stuff. That's the one thing about Mantiply I don't like. He's a very crafty lefty. So if he misses, he's going to get walloped. AJ Puck and Justin Martinez, yeah, they may miss in the inner third, but how fast they throw, it's not a potential big hit. So Puck has been absolutely amazing. He definitely needs to be right now for pitching. My top 3, the pen, Ginkel, Puck, and Justin Martinez right now. Like, without a doubt. Thompson has struggled, so I'm not comfortable with him. Seawald, for the most part, since he got demoted, has been okay. He had a bad outing here against the Marlins. Mantiply's Joe Mantiply. There's really nothing more to say. Gabe, what has impressed you the most out of AJ Puck?
Mostly the fact that he's able to get righties out. You're so used to seeing our left-handed pitchers be these, left-handed specialists. He is that, but then he also can just dominate righties, with that slider. Like, he legit looks like Chris Sale out there at times with how nasty that slider and fastball is. Like, he can place it anywhere he wants. He's just been completely dominant since we got him. Like, he had maybe one bad game, but it was a weird situation where they had him on inherited runners, and it's just, it wasn't a good day overall for anybody. But he's just been completely lights out. Like, just this fact that he has such a good fastball. He throws it at 98. After seeing Matt Supply, coming out there throwing 88, 89 mile per hour fastball, like, having a guy who's from the left side, who has a sidearm action, like, again, you're talking about an elite reliever here. And if we don't get rid of Davison, then we don't get him. Like, it's just this is why we can't be so precious with our prospects, because again, the prospects are lottery tickets. Like, I'm hoping obviously that Davison has a good career, good major league career, but as of right now, we still have time with Puck. We have what, 2 years, right? Is it 2 years or
Yes,
2 years?
and that's why this trade for me, I was fine giving up De Los Santos because of the control we had with Puck, and I think that's the main reason why Hazen made the move. Is we have discussed it, and there's been reports he really didn't want to work on his defense, and we know how important defense is for Torrey and Mike Hazen. And they're like,
Yeah.
well, we need a bullpen arm. Yeah, this guy hits extremely well, but they got a back end top reliever for their pen, not just for this season, for down the line. So they'll have that shutdown lefty, and then like you said, does really well against righties too. And with a change to pitchers of the minimum 3 batter rule, your relievers need to have decent splits against both.
Potentially 5 batter rule. Thank you, Mike. Sorry, we'll talk about those in one day. Those are so stupid.
Yeah, but it's just that's what I'm saying. Like, we can't be so precious about our prospects. I mean, there's certain guys I think they're untouchable in this organization, but again, like, you win World Series by having dominant pitching, and just ask the Cubs. They sold really high on their what's his face, and they got Chapman, and Chapman helped them win the World Series. I know he gave up that game tying hit or whatever it was that wasn't Coco Chris, was it? Was it?
Rajay Davis.
Yeah, Rajay Davis, and I know it was him, but they don't get there if it isn't for Chapman. But it's just we needed this. This is something that we talked about on one of our, our trade deadline, right before the deadline previews. We talked about, we need a left-hander to come out of the bullpen. Like, that's one of their main needs because, again, I don't trust Mantiply in any situation against Bryce Harper, against Schwarber, against Otani, against Lux, against
Bryce and Stott, maybe. Like, that might be the only lefty with Mantiply I trust, but no. All these big-time lefties, no.
Freddie Freeman, like, there's so many left-handers in the league right now, especially that, are going to be in the playoffs, that we need a guy who's going to be able to dominate them, but also he can get righties out. It doesn't matter if, right after Otani, you have Mookie. Well, he can get Mookie out if he needs to. And he's been incredible for this team, and I'm really happy that we got him. I was a little bit disappointed that they let go of Davison, but after those reports came out of him, I wanted to work on his defense and been a little hard-headed. But again, I mean, he's only like 21 or so he's going to have time to develop. He's going to be hopefully he's going to be a very good guy, a good player. But again, we've seen prospects like him, sort of these hard-hitting guys. Look at Stone Garrett. Like, we've had these type of guys that we were so high on, but we traded like at the right time, and maybe Davison might be that. Again, I don't have any problems with the Marlins if he turns out to be a great player for them. Hopefully they keep him for longer than 2 years.
Yeah, like,
what's the longest tenured player for anybody in Miami or in Florida for the Rays or the Marlins? I don't think they keep any guys there. Like they get rid of both teams.
Longo
one's good at what they get back. One's terrible.
I think Longo was there for 8 years or something, right? Didn't he sign an extension?
Yeah, I mean him. I've been more of like in the last 5 years, like his Glasnow they shipped out, Wander's in jail. Should be. Sorry.
Yeah, maybe Yandy Diaz. I'm trying because I'm like, it's not Randy Arozarena anymore. He's going
to be traded in the offseason. We both.
Oh yeah. I mean it does work for Tampa because when they do it, they're usually competitive again the next season. Tampa's also not completely out of the wild card, but it is difficult for them. So, Brett, you're the one that brought up that you wanted to talk about AJ Puck. So, floor is yours.
Yes, I mean, he was one of those where when we were, talking about like topics and all that, I was sitting there, I was like, man, there's nothing like, Foley standing out. And then I started, I was looking at the bullpen and noticing just what he's done, looking at his stats and his splits and all that. and just seeing like that OPS is disgusting. Like that's not a batting average. That's not any one of those other stats where like, oh, like in the 200s, like that's not bad. Like no, that's disgusting. He's going in there, and I think one of the things I was more impressed with is the strikeout to walk ratio, the 30 Ks to only 5 walks. I know when we traded for him, that was one of the things where not as bad as Tanner Scott, but it seemed and it sounded like he did have sometimes a walk issue, might get into some trouble and then still get out of it, but would make innings a little more stressful than he needed. But we haven't seen that from him so far, and he's been a godsend. Like you said, the amount of games where he's come in to face some of these tough lefties, or even if he's facing some righties, where if you're going to tell me, oh, in an alternate universe, Joe Mantiply, and again, no disrespect to Joe, I think Joe has a very crucial role in this team. It's just not the 2021 Joe Mantiply where he was like our guy to go out there and shut it down. But if, like I said, if there's a different universe where Joe Mantiply is taking those innings from AJ Puck, the D-backs do not have the record they have now. There's I don't know what it would be. I don't know how many more losses we would have, but I can at least guarantee they would not have the same record they have now, just because of the difference in stuff and the difference in what Puck brings on the mound. Like Gabe said, he's not a crafty guy hoping to, if his location's on, he'll be on. But even when Puck's location isn't on, it's kind of like Justin Martinez, where he's like, fuck it, dude. I'm going to throw it hard just at the zone. I'm going to get you to swing and miss at it. Like, I don't care. And that's one of the things where we haven't really had that from a lefty, I feel like, in just ever. Like, we've never, even Kyle Nelson has had his moments. Joe Mantiply, obviously, we talked about him, his first half in 21, where he was insane and our lone all-star. But there's never been, I feel like, a lefty to this kind of effect, like the hard throwing, nasty, kind of funky arm slot that can face not just lefties. He's not just a lefty specialist like the Chaffins and say it again, like the Mantiplies. He's out there to get anybody out. His slider can work on righties. His sinker can just bury in on lefties. It's been really nice to see, and I really hope that he's solidified and proven why he's basically the new, I feel like eighth inning guy. Obviously, It's not guaranteed. Like we saw in this series, there's no 100% shot he'll be in the eighth inning, but I do think that he is going to be like one of the crucial guys in come the playoffs and even this stretch.
I feel with our back end, with having so many guys that can pitch well in those high leverage spot, I don't think it's like last season where 7th inning was Thompson, 8th inning was Ginkel. It's going to be matchup based, because what if in the 7th you got 3 lefties or like 2 lefties? Most likely is going to be Puck. Same thing could happen in the 8th inning. Like, I think that back end, you have guy. Like, you can go Thompson, you can go Ginkel, you can go Puck. I mean, dare I say it, you could go Seawald. Yeah, I know.
You said it. You dared. You did indeed dare.
So, I think Puck will continue to just be absolutely dominant. And the fact is that he's good against lefties and righties, which is so rare. It is such a rare thing. So, moving on to a game we probably should have lost. Game 3, started by Jordan Montgomery, struggles again. 5 2/3, 10 hits, 6 runs, 1 walk, 4 Ks, and 2 home runs. This stat that AZ Snake Pit tweeted out is absolutely ridiculous. So there's been 117 pitchers that have thrown 90-plus innings. Jordan Montgomery is last or first in ERA, depending on how you want to look at it, 6.48. That is absolutely atrocious. That is awful. At that many innings to still have a 6.5 ERA and still getting to throw every 5 days is beyond infuriating. If they want him to continue to pitch, stick with the 6-man rotation. Ryan Nelson has done nothing but shove the last 2 months. do not punish him because Jordan Montgomery makes more money. That is not fair. Ryan has come such a long way in just this season. Like, first 2 months, like, he'd have a good start and then he'd have a really bad start. He's been consistently putting out good start after good start, quality start. Like, I don't know what else his team needs to see to know that Ryan deserves to be in the starting rotation. Whether that you do a 6-man or you put Monty in the pen. But if I see that they decide, oh, Ryan Nelson's going to come out of the pen, I'm going to be very disappointed because I know the only reason y'all are doing it is because of what he makes. It's not because of how he pitches, because it's every start he struggles. And Dick, I'm glad you're feeling well.
Watching Jordan Montgomery in 2024 for the just what watching any high-paid lefty for the Diamondbacks feels like.
I mean, Erod's look pretty good in his 3 starts.
I'm not gonna fully count him until he at least gets to like 10. He's not in this conversation. It's the Jordan Montgomerys and the Madison Bumgarners.
Yeah. He's worse than 2024 Patrick Corbin. I don't know if anyone's worse than 20. But the thing with the Nationals, they don't have any other options. We do. So, yeah, Monty is... I was surprised that he made it through the 6th. After, like, he gave up so many extra base hits against the Marlins today, especially in the 4th. I'm like, there's no way he's going out for the 5th. He went out for the 5th. I'm like, there's no way he goes out for this. He went out for the 6th. And by the way, Monty, you need to go buy Lourdes something because he bailed you out. Because, like I said, we should have lost that game. Like, cool. Monty got a strikeout here in the 1st inning. Like, we scored in the 1st, and he immediately gave it back up. So, Gabe, do you think this team is completely set on he has to pitch because of his salary? Or do we think there's something like what else does this team need to see from Monty to convince them that he doesn't belong in the starting rotation?
I'm gonna wait and see what Torrey says during the press, after today's game, and see what Hazen says, because I think with how bad this performance was, they might move him to the bullpen because Ryan Nelson didn't come out of there. If Ryan would have come out, then I think it would have been kind of cemented that he is the 5th starter. But it's just frustrating because it's like the whole messaging throughout the whole spring training and early in the season, everything that you look back on those, on all those videos and clips of them talking about, the messaging behind his team is nothing is deserved, or nothing is deserved, nothing is given, everything is earned, and you have to deserve a spot on this team, blah blah blah. And with him, it's like, well, that's clearly not even the case. Like, you're going back on your own messaging, like you're being a hypocrite. Like, there's a guy you have right now who deserves that 5th spot, who should be in that 5th spot, and has been incredible for this team, has been the stabilizing force for this team, while Montgomery hadn't even thrown a pitch for this team yet. And they're telling him, yeah, we might move you to the bullpen just because we owe this guy $25 million. Like, sorry, like, we can't do anything about it. Like, our hands are tied apparently, and it's just frustrating because it's like this isn't a meritocracy apparently. Like, we always think about sports being like this ultimate meritocracy where it's like, yeah, only the best of the best get to play. That's not the case. Like, if you get paid more than another guy, even though you're so much worse than him, it doesn't matter because they owe you money. They're just going to keep keep throwing you out there until your arm gives away or whatever. Like, it's frustrating. And as of right now, I would just want to move him to the bullpen, give him time to figure out what it is that, whatever issue it is that he has. Because right now, it mostly just seems to be he's just missing his location. His stuff is still good. It's just he has so much trouble locating everything. Like, he leaves too much stuff hanging in the middle of the zone. Like, he had some really nasty curveballs today. His fastball looked pretty good too, but it's just left too much of it in the zone. And so if he goes to the bullpen, maybe he can throw a little bit harder. He can get a little bit more confident. He can work out the little kinks in a, in the less stressful situation where he's not having to go out there and try to give you 6 innings because Ryan Nelson's going to give you 7 with 1 run or 2 runs. Like, it's just all we've asked of Montgomery is to give us a chance to win, and more often than not, he just hasn't been.
Yeah, I heard on the TV broadcast today. I don't know if they were theorizing or they knew, but they might go another round of the 6-man rotation. Which again, if they want it, as long as Ryan Nelson gets to start, I don't care if you guys feel like you have to do the 6-man to have them both there. Go ahead, I'm fine with it. I feel it'd be a major disservice and a major. Yeah, Ryan, you pitched well, but nah, we're just going to put you in the pen because we got to pay Monty $25 million. So, Ryan Nelson has just, like the last 2 months, every start is 6 or 7 innings. And that's huge. And the problem with this 6-man rotation is now we have one less guy out of the pen, and that eventually will come back to be a big problem because we're going to go into games where like everyone out of the pen is exhausted. So I'm like, then move Monty to the pen. Like Monty can be your long guy. If you need someone to get 5-6 outs in the middle of the game, go ahead and throw Monty out there. So Brett, like, is there anything you think Jordan Montgomery can do to save his spot in the rotation?
Not give up home runs to Christian Pache in 2024, who before today had a career home run total of 6.
And this one right here?
What's the career OPS? Oh, yeah, his career OPS is 521. Yeah, maybe not giving up a home run to that guy would be where you start, in my personal, non-professional opinion. I mean, all jokes aside, like these are major league hitters, so I'm not being fully real there. It's sometimes you leave a hanger, but maybe he should stop leaving hangers to, play exactly. Dan, play better.
Play better. That's pretty much what it is.
And again, I don't want I don't want this to I don't want to go on here and just like dunk on players and be like, oh haha, you're bad. It's easy to say you're bad when like there's no chance I do any better than him or have ever done any better than him. Like there's a reason he's there. It just sucks he's not performing. But I mean, I think it's one of those, like Gabe said, it's Torrey can't do this whole like, oh, if guys are going to have to earn their spot. Like if you don't earn your spot, like you're not going to get playing time, like kind of like thing. And then just turn a blind eye to what Jordan Montgomery's giving you. Like there's got to be some way you can figure it out. And I think the best way with where we're at in the season and all that is, again, throw him in the bullpen. It sucks, but I mean, just you can't always rely on your offense to bounce back like this. You can't always rely on the offense to face a weakened bullpen like the Marlins. Like if we're going to go up against, I think what his next scheduled start would be up against the Mets, most likely. If you missed, because you would miss the Red Sox series, and then I think you would get like the Wednesday game against the Mets or whatever the mid game is. And they still have some, like they have some guys. We saw it back in June. They got a whole lineup that can crush Jordan Montgomery. So if they want to do the 6-man rotation again, they could, but that's where it might line up. One of those 2 Mets games or one of those 3 Mets games he'll pitch. And I don't want to see that. Like, again, I think the best is just let him try to figure it out. Do what they did with Ginkel, do what they're doing with Paul. Sometimes a guy has to lose his role to realize. Sometimes in life you got to realize, or you got to lose what you have, what was good, to realize what you missed and what you're needing to do to get back to, to having that feeling, to getting to that. Do that with Monty. Like I want him to do good. We saw him in the playoffs last year do good. He could be just like Erod. And once we get to the playoffs, he could just turn on a switch, just become a different guy.
It's so weird though, because
we just haven't seen any signs of it. We've seen maybe 2-3 good starts where we've been, damn, like, okay, Monty, where most of the other ones have been just kind of us holding our breath, just hoping that he doesn't shit the bed. And he gives up 2-3 runs. We're like, yay, participation trophy for going 5 runs, 3 innings, when Ryan Nelson is, like Gabe said, going 7 innings and 1 run. But one guy is going to just have the job just because of money, when, like Gabe said, let it be a meritocracy. Let it be the better guy wins the job. The better guy earns a spot. I know it sucks. It'd be a lot different. To me, it's one of those where Jordan Montgomery's not Gallen. Jordan Montgomery's not, Merrill Kelly. He doesn't have the weight and the pull and the kind of pedigree that
we don't need him to. That's the
this
thing.
fan base. I mean, we don't need him to, but that's what I'm like. It's not like you're having to worry about like, oh, we got to bench one of the, the team leaders, the aces. No, it's Jordan Montgomery is. You got to do what you got to do. Money aside, put him in the bullpen, let him figure it out. Like, you can't hope that the team just comes back all the time for him. They don't do it for Brandon Pfaadt. You can't always expect them to do it for Jordan Montgomery.
Can you imagine if this team on offense scored as much for Pfaadt as they do Montgomery? Yeah. Like, I don't understand it. Like, it's like they know it's like he's going to give up a lot of runs, so we got to score a lot. I'm like, can't you do that for Pfaadt? Like, he has pitched absolutely so well. So let's go ahead and talk about the reason we won this game. Lourdes Gurriel Jr. this last week has an OPS of 1.325. What the hell? Like, that is absolutely ridiculous. He came in to pinch hit today in the 7th. Bases loaded, 2 outs, and thank goodness this hit off the wall. Because I'm like, if they, and it's been happening a lot lately, like their inability and the fact that they leave a lot of runners on, I was like, this is probably going to be one of them. But thankfully, Lourdes came through. And he had another RBI later in the game there in the 9th inning for a insurance run, which you'll always love. Like, you can never have enough. So Gurriel has been just absolutely dynamite. Game 1, he had an absolute nuke of a home run that he just absolutely destroyed. Like, he's like we talked about it. Walker's out, Gurriel's out. Who is going to step up to basically take care of that run production that we are missing? Right? ADC's doing it since he came up. Gurriel has done it the last week. Jake McCarthy has stepped up the last 2. Like, all of a sudden, Jake's like, oh, I can hit homers now. The man had 3 homers, like, before the Philly series. I think he's at 8 now. Like, he is on an absolute tear. Like, I wish Jake could qualify for the batting average, but he doesn't have enough at bats at this point. So I'm glad that someone and multiple guys have stepped up. Like, because it's not just Gurriel that stepped up. Carroll has been hitting well. Like I said, McCarthy, ADC, like, everyone has been stepping up. Like, and that's what we need. Like, we need, because on paper, this A starting lineup is offensively is one of the best. I mean, I'm pretty sure they are the number 1 offense in baseball since July 1st. Like, they've been absolutely dominant. Gabe, so like I said, Walker and Moreno are going to be out still for some time. Are you glad that Gurriel has stepped up, or like, was he one of your picks to do it, or were you just expecting it to be like Corbin or Suarez? Like, did you realize how hot Gurriel had been the last week? Because I didn't until we looked up the numbers.
Yeah, I think this has been one of the more quieter hot streaks that Gurriel has been on, because I remember last year it seemed like he was hitting a home run every game during his hot streak, and he was hitting like 400 in was it June or May, whatever it was. He was just on a tear. And as of right now, like you said, I didn't realize he was hitting so well as of late, but just because Corbin Carroll is the one who's been hitting a home run every other game, and with ADC getting hot too, it's like we have quite a few guys who seem to be hitting homers and clutch base hits over and over and over again that we kind of just forgot that Gurriel has been doing the exact same, showing the replays with Jock too. Just he's hitting home runs left and right. So it's just like I said, I thought he was not necessarily slumping, but I thought he was, just going about it as like a 250 average or something. But I'm like, he's been incredibly hot. But he was one of the main guys that we mentioned when this team was struggling early in the season that he had to step up. He's one of the higher paid guys. Like he's making 15 million, I believe, a year. And along with him, Corbin, um, Suarez, and we just had 3, 4 guys who we were like, these guys are getting paid the big bucks on this team, and they are not performing. And now he is. He's coming around. He's getting hot right at the right time. Hopefully, this translates into the playoffs. But yeah, I mean, he's been really really good, and luckily we haven't necessarily needed him to be as hot as he's been, just because of how good everybody else has been. But again, he's one of the big guys that we've been needing this whole season to show up, and he finally is showing up because Walker and Cattell were on pace to reach 100 RBIs each, and with Gabby, like you're talking about a ton of RBIs just missing from this team, just from those two guys, and same with Gabby, the way he was getting hot, just scoring guys left and right. So having Gurriel there, being able to bring in the runs, because it's not just that he's getting little singles here and there. He has guys on base, he's bringing them in. Corbin Carroll, I think, is either tied now or just a couple right behind Shohei for runs scored, and it's because of guys like him. Like he needs
because he
guys to
scores
bring him
like
in.
every game. Carroll has been like, I think like his last 55 games, he has like 53 runs. Like he's literally
Yeah.
scoring every game.
Yeah, and it's a it's a great testament to the guys behind him, and Gurriel is one of them. Just if once Corbin gets on base at this point, we're expecting him to score, because it's not, it wasn't Cattell, it wasn't Moreno, it wasn't Walker, it was Gurriel, it was anybody else. Like we have enough guys on this team who can take good at bats, who can score, Carroll or whoever else is in front of them. So I'm happy that he's finally seemingly to come around, and hopefully this is just the beginning. He's able to get those crazy, 400 average, 1300 OPS hot months that he gets.
Yeah. So just continue to have him just like we just need them to continue to do what they've been doing until we get Cattell back, till we get Walker back, till we get Moreno back. Like we just need them to continue to do what they're doing, step up with the power, just keep pace with the Padres. And then I've been saying it for a while. If you can stay within 3 games for the next 10 days, when we have a 4-game series against the Dodgers for Labor Day weekend, if we can be within 3, it's very possible that we could either be like 1 game out of first place or even in first place at that point. And then the month of September will be a grind. So Brett, I mean, you were the one that kind of put the numbers out there for us that Gurriel had been hot of late. So floor is yours.
Yes, it was kind of the same with the game 2, and I was like, there's not really anything that's a clear, like topic, like, what can we look at? And then it kind of harped on me back to game 2 when Gurriel did hit his home run, and it was kind of like all over like some of the Discord, like, in our Discord and all that, where everyone's like, yeah, he basically shut Bert and Tom up because they were just talking the entire time about him not really having home runs. And Corbin Barrels in the chat brings up a great point, because through a lot of that stretch, he was basically just slapping singles, with nobody on. He wasn't really, driving into the gap. He wasn't making, the big impact that we've seen. But it seems like now, even like, in tonight's game, that fastball up and out of the zone, that's not like that's not a bad pitch from a pitcher. Like that's the crazy thing is, it's not like, oh, the pitcher just gave him a meatball. That was a 4 or 5 inches above the zone. He went up and got it. Like those aren't super easy to hit sometimes, whether it's 94 or 99. And he got the barrel on it. And I think that's a great sign, especially him turning on Edward Cabrera. I think that home run he hit, I don't know if you have the highlight of it, cued. It is, I think, like a sinker inside on his hands. Maybe it was a changeup that he turned on. But I thought it was a sinker. Either way, Cabrera does have some nasty stuff. He's got some nasty movement. So seeing him being able to, kind of turn on something that, again, both those at bats, like this one right here, the like that fastball, that's not a bad pitch at all. And then the one from Cabrera is still a good spot as well. So him making those kind of barrels and swings on good pitches, and obviously with runners on and all that, is kind of surprising to see the slug. I didn't think the slugging would be at 500. I'm wondering if that was a little inflated just by tonight. But still, it's really good to see, like you said, with Walker out, with Gabby out. I know he's not going to be providing the RBI numbers like Gabe was saying, where Gabby, that's a big RBI guy that we were losing, especially right now being out with Cattell momentarily. If we can get Gurriel kind of the first week of the season, Gurriel, or at least if we can get a good 2-3 week stretch of him where he goes on his Gurriel hot streak, while the rest of the guys like Walker, Moreno, and Cattell get back and healthy, I think that could do wonders for this team, especially considering the next 10-game stretch. It's not a walk in the park at all. Again, they're facing above 500 teams with 4 of those 10 games at home against the Dodgers. So if we can get Gurriel to get hot at the right time, I think this is the right time.
Yeah. So just continue to do what you're doing. Also, shout out, someone decided to hit the weight room lately. Geraldo Perdomo. Like, most of his homers barely cleared the fence. This one, ladies and gentlemen, was an absolute bomb. Like, I'm pretty sure we hit, at least 4 homers in that same area of the stadium in this series.
Mm-hmm.
Jock had one, and I think both of Jake's were in that section. Like, I don't know what it is, but they were turning on those pitches and hitting them to those empty seats there.
One of the things that, just because on that highlight with Domo, now that I'm actually seeing it, it's very interesting. Candiotti and Bert talked about it, I believe, in game 1 when I was listening on the way to Walmart grabbing something. I was, had my headphones in, and they're talking about how Domo, one of the reasons why he's so good at the box with his adjustments and how he can fight off some of these pitches is on lower pitches in the zone. He'll like drop his body, which I imagine to some hitting coaches, you're like, what the hell are you doing? No, like level through the plane. What you doing here, buddy? Why are you dropping your knees? Like, no, he's basically like, will dip his knees or his weight, like his hips or whatever, where he gets down into a better position. As you can see, like we don't see him put too much, lift on a ball. That, like, you could, if you want to replay it, you can kind of see it in real time. He adjusts, then literally hips go down to where he can, the top part of his body just can, stay through and can actually get some power to it. It's really weird. It's very subtle, but now that they've pointed it out, I'm going to try to go through and find some clips of it, because I think that's just, I love little things like that, because I imagine there's probably some point in his life where a hitting coach is like, why would you ever do that? Don't move your bottom half down, move your momentum through the pitch and all that, shit that I was told from every high school coach that didn't even make it past JUCO. Like, I'm very intrigued to see, how much of a difference it is on certain pitches that he's dropping it down. So I just thought that was kind of cool. The broadcast talked about that, because I never even noticed it.
Yeah, I think I did notice a lot of the time when he would foul pitches off. I'm like, don't know, how the hell do you get the barrel on that? So he definitely is doing something different. So congratulations to the team. Kind of basically washed out what happened against Tampa. We got swept, and then now we got a sweep. So kind of evens out. We have a 3-game series at Fenway starting on Friday. They have an off day tomorrow. So that's good, because J Mart threw a lot of pitches today. And I think that's probably why they went with the 5 outs, is because there's an off day. He probably still not pitching Friday, but probably a good chance he pitches on Saturday. So game 1 Friday will be at 4:10. We got Ryan Nelson against Byron Bello. Game 2 on Saturday is a 1:10. Zach Gallen against Cutter Crawford. And then Sunday is, we got sorry, I scrolled too far, because I'm like, it was like Toronto, Boston. I'm like, how does that work? And then, we got a very early game on Sunday at 10:30. Merrill Kelly versus Tanner Houck. So 3 matchups that I really could see go either way with each one. So this is going to be a big series. Boston is also in the running for a wild card spot. They're 3.5 back of the final wild card spot in the AL, so they definitely have something to play for. So these games are just as big for them. We do have a recent collaborator in the chat there with Red Sox Nation. So they're going to be very into that series as well. They'll all be excited to hear our thoughts of that on Sunday. I'm going to sound like a broken record. Just win the series. That's all I care about. We have seen what has happened to our record because we won 9 series in a row. And we literally went from people feeling like we're on Bayo. My bad. Sorry.
It's a weird name. Trust me, I thought it was Bello until I played MLB The Show, and people were like, "No, it's Bayo."
So, all right, I will keep that in mind. Bayo, yeah, just win the series because you continue to win series. We now have a shot at the division. Like, I'm gonna have to look back. Like, when was the last time in August we were within 4 games of the division? It wasn't 21. I will tell you that.
Let me go find it. I'll put it in the Discord for all of our Discord friends first, so you guys get a sneak peek, and then I'll tweet it out.
It was 2018. 2018.
Damn it, Gabe.
Corbin Barrels, thanks for the love. We appreciate. I mean, this is kind of why. Talking smack in the chat already, saying we're gonna know it. Yeah, like Boston. Like I know at the start of the season, a lot of people was like, "Oh, Boston." Like this is a rebuild year for Boston because on paper, a lot of their roster, you're like, who? Like they got Kenley Jansen, catcher Connor Wong, Danny Jansen, but they have one of the best third basemen in all of baseball, Rafael Devers. So that's going to be tough. They got Tristan Casas back like within the last week. He had missed most of the season. They have a lot of good young rookies too, like David Hamilton, Rafael Abreu, the All-Star Game MVP, and Jarren Duran. So like they have a lot.
Is your tennis racket somewhere? Sorry.
Is very good. So I think this series is going to be very competitive. So just take the series, guy. So Gabe, thoughts on the Red Sox series?
Yeah, it's probably gonna be one of their harder ends to the road trip. I mean, they struggle against Tampa. I'm hoping they don't struggle as much against Boston. I just think maybe Tampa, with how horrible that stadium is, I think they kind of just ran into some bad luck and bad pitching. It's just overall a huge mess, and not what we've seen from this team. So hopefully they play better against Boston again. Like you said, just win the series because it's not like the teams in front of us are facing off against bad teams. The Dodgers facing off against Tampa, and the
Padres and Mets.
Padres are facing off the game Mets, so it's going to be tough for both of them as well. So if we take the series, they lose.
The Tua Mets now, don't you know?
Oh God, yeah. So it's just if they're at least one of them loses the series and we win the series, then we can move up a little bit more in the standings, make them sweat a little bit more, especially once we see them in the later months in September. And I guess if I want to give a quick final thoughts. Joey Votto, congratulations on your retirement. I hope to see you in Cooperstown one day. He deserves it, and still to this day, I think he should have won MVP over Giancarlo Stanton.
Yeah, I don't doubt that. Brett?
Yes, I mean it's the Red Sox are going to be a tough team. They are, they're 300 at 500 at home, but they do play well against, actually they're 3 under 500 at home, and they're 10 under 500 against teams over 500. So there's a little bit of fun things just off of that. But as Red Sox Nation said, or I think as Corbin Barrel said, it's going to be our 3 best pitchers versus their 3 best pitchers. I mean, maybe not currently 3 best because Zach Gallen, I don't know if you can classify what he's been doing as best, but still, It's going to be hopefully some good pitching matchups. Thank God we don't have to deal with the stupid roof anymore, and we don't have to deal with the stupid state of Florida for the rest of the season, which I'm very, very thankful with. But yeah, I just, like you said, Brandon, just keep the series rolling, or series win streak, get it to 2, because that is a winning streak. Shout out Major League.
Yeah, Bryce Stanton probably brings up the key thing to look out for in this series. If you can get their starter out, their bullpen is not good. Their bullpen, so that's the goal. Get to their pen. If we can get to their pen early, then we should be good to go. So definitely keep an eye out on that. Brett, you have any last thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, kind of like Gabe said, Joey Votto was always fun to watch. For many years, it was always a, constant in my household and with friends and all that of, oh, who's a better first baseman, Goldie or Joey Votto? It would always be, oh, Goldie's, is in there this year, but it would always be Joey Votto, Freddie Freeman. He was just so fun to watch. If you ever just want to go and enjoy just some good baseball hitting and just some fun times and fun nostalgia, definitely recommend watching some highlights on him. And shout out to him. He's fucking hilarious in social media. So
he absolutely is.
So major shout outs to him. I do agree with Gabe. 5 years, see him in Cooperstown. That speech will be legendary. Yeah, no, it's if final thoughts on the D-backs at least. It was nice to come on here and at least be in good moods for Game 3, because when I got home, I was like, oh, yay, at least we get to talk about a series win, but what the fuck, Jordan Montgomery? So that's at least thank goodness the offense gave us some positive thoughts to go into the off day tomorrow.
Red Sox Nation, we're going to be at odds for the next 3 days. So, not tomorrow, but starting on Friday, we're all going to be at odds with Red Sox Nation. Just want to give a shout out to Red Sox Nation and Corbin Barrels for joining our Discord. Thank you very much.
And everybody else. I think a few more people joined as well throughout.
Yeah. We've been steadily getting people at it every day. It's just a good time over there. We all have such a passion for the D-backs. Reddit is an absolute mess. Corbin Barrels, it's not it's bad. It is. They trash everything. So if this is your first time checking us out on YouTube, thank you very much. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you do get notified of whenever we go live. Follow us on Twitter as well at D-backs Dispatch. We will have a giveaway next month, by the way. So stay tuned for that. We will always announce it on a live stream, and we'll always post it on Twitter. Red Sox Nation, we're sweeping you guys. So be ready. You better get that broom out. And for those listening on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, just make sure to follow and subscribe over there. Because we know sometimes everyone has busy lives, so maybe you can't watch us live, but you like to listen to us at work.
And give us 5 stars just for his ball knowing skills, because those are 5 stars alone. So
yes, they very much are. We will see y'all on Sunday. Bye-bye.
It's the D-backs Dispatch. Let's go. Yeah, bring the red game. Josh on the floor. West Coast vibes, catch us on the air. Home running dogs, diamond gems we share. Brandon was a stat, Caesar man was a plan. Red brace it down, tells it like it is, man. Gabs on fire, brings the heat every time. Josh on the mix, keep the beat so prime. I got the insights every week's a hit. Tune in, D-backs Dispatch, this is it. Now we rollin'. D-backs Dispatch, yeah. Talk to Brandon, Gabe, this is Big Catch. Josh on the mix, he makes the beats. West Coast vibe, got the G fucking the bad. The home Mac, the home Mac, the home Mac, home Mac. D-backs Dispatch, we here to stay. Yeah, catch us every week, we bring the flavor to it. We got the home Mac, the home Mac, the home Mac, home Mac. D-backs Dispatch, we here to stay. Catch us every week, we bring the flavor to it.